निरञ्जनं नित्यम् अनन्तरूपं भक्तानुकम्पाधृतविग्रहं वै ईशावतारं परमेशमिड्यं तं रामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामः. Namaste and welcome to our guided meditation series. As usual, we will begin with our guided meditation session. Let us meditate. Sit upright, keeping your back, neck and head in a relaxed upright position. Imagine your whole body to be steady, strong and healthy. Direct your attention to various limbs of the body, and as you do so, visualize each part to be strong, healthy and pure. Focus your attention to your feet, to your ankle, calf, knees, thighs, back, stomach, chest, shoulders, arms, elbows, hands, neck, head, face, and your whole body. Visualize the whole body to be filled with the divine light of purity. Now focus your attention on your breath. Breathe in a deep, rhythmic manner. Inhaling and exhaling fully and slowly. Visualize that you are breathing in the light of purity and holiness. As you breathe out, you exhale all stress and tension and ignorance. In this way, inhale and exhale thrice in a relaxed way. Let us pray for the welfare of all beings. Let us pray to the divine that dwells in the heart of all beings, the one universal consciousness, the source of knowledge, bliss, immortality, beauty, purity and goodness, infinite peace and all divine qualities. May the divine direct our minds to the eternal truth within us, so that we can manifest that in our thoughts, words and deeds. Send out your prayers for the welfare of all throughout the universe. See your thoughts going out forever and helping everyone with spiritual power. Send your thoughts to your left, in front, behind, above, below, and in all directions. With you as the center, you radiate these wonderful thoughts and prayers for the welfare of the whole universe. Now withdraw your mind from the external material world to yourself. Visualize your body strong and filled with a divine light. Visualize that behind and through this physical body is your mental body, finer than the physical body, made of beautiful thoughts and ideas, spiritual thoughts and ideas. Visualize that beyond this mental body is your knowledge body, the Karan Sharira, the source of all knowledge. And beyond the three bodies is the infinite Atman, pure, perfect, one without a second. In that ocean of consciousness, visualize a divine lotus, fully bloomed, full of freshness and fragrance. In the center of that lotus, visualize a flame, radiating its light in all directions, dispelling all darkness of ignorance. You may replace that flame with any divine form of your choice. And imagine him or her to be seated within your heart, in the depth of your being, full of peace, bliss, knowledge, grace, eager to shower his blessings on you. Feel that divine presence and its warmth as the source of your being. Imagine the light radiating out of him to be the light of knowledge that dispels the darkness of ignorance. It's a light of bliss that fills you with joy. It's a light of absolute peace that fills you with serenity and tranquility. It's a light of strength that strengthens you spiritually, morally, intellectually, emotionally, physically. Know that divine to be your true self. Direct your whole mind and fill your whole mental space with the divine presence. Feel the warmth and the protection and the comfort radiating from him. The mantra is the sound form of the divine within you. You may repeat the mantra given by a spiritual teacher, or the Gayatri mantra, or the Omkara, the universal name of the divine, or if you wish, Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya Namaha. Hold your mind to the process of the repetition of the mantra. Be vigilant that you maintain the repetition in that cycle. And if the mind slips off to some other thought, watchfully bring it back gently to the repetition of the mantra, knowing that the divine and the mantra and you are one and the same. But we are trying to resonate with each other in the depth of our being. Meditate in this way for a while. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. So in this way, we try to meditate for at least half an hour, but gradually increase the duration and the quality of meditation, the quality of concentration, to be able to sit down for at least an hour. Then you will feel that grounding within you and be able to carry that out throughout your day to some degree and be alert to the spiritual idea in the midst of your various activities. We have been discussing the first two steps of the 8-step or 8-limbed yoga as taught by Maharishi Patanjali, Ashtanga Yoga. The first two steps are the moral and the ethical disciplines, the yamas and the niyamas, which have to be practiced at all times, in all situations. These are the great vows, Mahavratas. Why are they so important? Because these help to prepare the mind for the practice of meditation. And if we are alert throughout the day as to how we engage with the world, then we are careful that the mind doesn't get polluted by the material world. It develops a degree of sattva, and meditation truly is really possible to the extent the element of sattva increases within us. So we have to be very, very alert and vigilant. We cannot just live a very casual life doing anything and everything and then sit in the evening for meditation and expect to have wonderful concentration and illumination. Just like in the day, if you are not very careful and just pollute your body, make it dirty, then with that dirty body you enter home. Likewise, if you're not very alert, the mind gets polluted by its contact with the external world, and that disturbed, rattled mind, meditation, or is not very, very good meditation doesn't happen. It's not possible, so to say. So, we talked about the yamas. Ahimsa, non-violence in thought, word and deed towards any being. Satya, truthfulness. That is the tapasya in this age, to always hold on to truth, because the truth, or God himself is truth, the Atman is the truth. We cannot let go of that truth even in the midst of our everyday activity. Otherwise, it's just a contradiction. In one way, being spiritual, we are trying to approach truth, and then in our worldly way, we are trying to drift away from truth. That doesn't make sense. So that's the tapasya, the austerity for this Kali Yuga. Asteya, non-stealing, not taking anything that does not belong to you, even mentally, in that form that we should not be greedy for things that belong to others. Brahmacharya, practice of self-control, restraint of the senses, and the prevention of the dissipation of the energies at the physical body level, so that that energy is harnessed and sublimated through japa and meditation, converted into a very spiritual energy called the ojas, which is then stored in our brain, and that is what really slowly increases our spiritual power. So that has to be practiced. We cannot just lose that power. We have to restrain it and transform into a spiritual power. Today we talk a little bit about the fifth part of the yama, aparigraha. Non-hoarding of things, material things that we do not need. Or sometimes it is also said, non-receiving of gifts, things from other people. Why is this discipline very, very important? So a certain degree of discretion has to be exercised, alertness has to be practiced regarding things that we need and things that we want. And if you think very carefully, for your everyday existence, food, clothing, shelter, they are very, very minimal. But there's no end to wants. And the more things we acquire and possess, you find that so much more of your time, mental energy and physical energy is given to those things, because you have to maintain them, you have to take care of them, you have to attend to them, and if there's any undesirable change in those type of things, whether it's people or money or property, then it affects us. So we surrender our freedom to these things and become slaves to them. We think we possess them, but really they possess us and take away our peace of mind. So if we have too many of all these things, then whenever there's a disturbance outside, like this coronavirus or something like that, then your mind is totally rattled because things are out of your control. But those who have very few things, not attached to too many things, you may have those things, but it's an attachment to those things that's the cause of our problem. So you can have things, but not be attached to them. And therefore, any changes to things outside do not affect us inside. So not having unnecessary things itself is a great spiritual discipline. Secondly, if you receive something from anyone, gifts or anything, you have to be very mindful what is the source of that. And if the character of the person from whom we receive things, whether it's food or some material thing, that also comes to us. It's not just like you get a very tasty cake or something because somebody has made. If that person's character is not very good, then we receive something more than the physical cake. The subtle forces that come from the personality of that person, they also are taken into us. That is why when you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, you would see that he could not accept things from people whose character was not good. If somebody gave him a glass of water, he will try to reach out and drink, and then he'll stop there itself. Because his whole body mind was very, very pure, Vishuddha Sattva. And if the character of the people who are very tamasic because they indulge in not very righteous things, when such things are given by such people, their character, the tanmatras, the influence come along with that, whatever is given to us. And it is spiritually harmful for us to receive things from people whose character is not very good. That is why satsanga, keeping company of people who are pure and holy and spiritual, is very, very important in spiritual life. We have to be careful and protect ourselves from negative influences outside, because in the beginning, when the plant of spirituality is very young, we need to fence it, like Sri Ramakrishna says. If you plant a sapling, you have to put a little fence around it, otherwise the cows and the goats might eat it. But once the plant becomes into a strong tree, then the fence is not necessarily important. Likewise, in the early stages of our spiritual life, we have to be very, very alert to protect ourselves from negative influences around. But if you grow into a huge tree, then you will not be affected by that. So we have to be a little vigilant and alert and not be too oversure and overconfident of ourselves in the early stages of spiritual life. So that is aparigraha. These are the 5 disciplines of yama. The restraints: ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, aparigraha. Now we will discuss the second limb of the 8th-limbed Yoga Sutras as taught by Maharishi Patanjali, which is the niyamas, the observances. And these are 5 again: Saucha, Santosha, Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishwar Pranidhana. Saucha means purity. Purity in thought, word and deed. Santosha. Santosha means contentment. It's a very beautiful thing, a mind that is content with minimum or very basic of the external necessities can be given to some higher spiritual pursuits. So that is santosha. Tapa is austerity. We need austerity because through austerity the inner power is awakened. Very briefly, just like a piece of timber has got light and heat inside it, but we need that friction to bring that, express that light and heat. So within us, within this human being, the divine qualities also are there. But we require to practice this tapasya. Tapasya means restraining the outgoing tendencies of the mind and the senses, restraining the horses from galloping outside. That requires a lot of energy. And that energy that is harnessed is then channelized to a higher spiritual dimension. So that is tapa. Swadhyaya, study of the scriptures, because the scriptures contain the truths that were experienced by the saints and sages who had realized the truth. And the scriptures, through the vehicle of words and the language, convey a message and a truth. We have to be able to go beyond the words to the truth. So it requires constant study, penetration with the subtle mind to capture the message that is encoded in that language, swadhyaya. Or it's also about study of our own self. Your whole life is a book. Every day is a page. When we go through our various experiences, we have to study what's the meaning and purpose behind it. And then you learn from our experiences, because every experience is a teacher. Experience is the only teacher. But what is that experience teaching us? So if we do not reflect on our own lives, events that are happening, then we will need to go repeatedly over similar experiences until that lesson is drawn in. So to be able to withdraw in a detached way and look at ourselves, what am I doing, why am I doing, how am I doing, what's the goal and purpose, am I moving in that direction? That type of subjective internal reflection in your own contemplation is itself a type of swadhyaya, and thinking deeply about our true nature and the unreal nature of the external world. And Ishwar Pranidhana is the fifth practice in the niyama. Ishvara is the supreme being, the universal soul, the one behind the many, the ocean behind the waves, the Paramatman behind the Jivatmans. We are all parts of that universal being, just like in our body there are billions and billions of cells. Each cell thinks it's an own individual, it has got a little sense of I, but when I say I am this body, or something beyond this body, or this is my body, it means the sum total of all the cells which work in harmony, in coordination. But I am identified with the body, at the same time I am beyond the body, I am the mind in something else. So that cosmic consciousness which is behind this whole universe, of which you, I and all are parts of the same being, that is the concept of the Ishvara. He is the controller. Just like I control this whole body and decide what happens to various organs and limbs and cells in the body, likewise the cosmic consciousness is the Ishvara, which controls this whole universe, the one universal consciousness, so to say, identified with the whole of this universe of creation. So since we are parts of it, and whatever we do, the energy, the impetus comes from that source, the result of that activity also belongs to the universal source. So whether it's meditation or japa or any physical activity, we always will give the result of that activity, that karma phala, to the divine being, and maintain that understanding that I am always a part of that him. And therefore, this ego, the jiva, should always have this attitude of surrender to the universal Paramatman, Jivatman and Paramatman. That would be the approach to practice Ishvara Pranidhana. Not that we are a wave floating in the air on our own, but we are really part of that ocean. We have to acknowledge that interrelationship, and that the ocean alone is real. Waves appear and disappear. The Paramatman or the Ishvara alone is the permanent entity. beings, living beings appear and disappear on the surface of the ocean. That type of relationship and understanding will be there. Then this ego within us does not inflate itself into a big something, but it remains always in that relationship that it is a part and a fraction of the universal being. So let us go through this. So these niyamas, we said, saucha, purity; santosha, contentment; tapa, austerity, the austerity of the body, of the mind, of the speech; swadhyaya, reflection, study of our life, our experiences, and the truths that are given to us by spiritual teachers; and the spirit of surrender to that universal consciousness is called Ishvara. So these are the practices that we have to, or disciplines that we have to practice in the midst of our everyday life. You see that it requires a certain degree of alertness to be able to hold on to this idea. Because when the mind is busy with your everyday work, business, whatever you're doing, you'll find that it is tuned to a different level. And sometimes these ideas drift away into the back. And because we're not alert to it, we might do something which might not be spiritually beneficial or righteous for us, or spiritually harmful to us. And afterwards, when we reflect and then we feel bad about it, say that this is something I should not have done. But feeling sorry or repenting, it's not so good. If we can be alert and prevent ourselves from slipping into that activity of thought, that would be the wise or better way to do things. So, saucha, let's look at that. When we say purity, purity of body, mind, and speech, in thought, word, and deed. Purity of body means taking bath, keeping your body clean, clothes clean, and all that. That everyone understands. When you go out into the world and engage ourselves in various activities, we collect so many dust and dirt, and that has to be washed away when you take a bath. Likewise, when the mind goes out into the external world, it also collects so much dust and dirt. And that mental dirt has also to be removed, cleansed away. If you want to remove some oily material that's on your physical body, you apply some nice soap and you find that very easily it is removed away. So to remove the mental impurities, the mantra is a very, very powerful tool by which the mental impurities are removed away. That is why when many people would go to Sri Ramakrishna and ask him, what is the way? How do I purify my mind? He says, repeat the name of God. The name of God and God himself are not too different. But the mantra has a tremendous purifying power. It removes the darkness of ignorance, the dirt of ignorance, and the light of knowledge will shine through. It is like a light bulb that has been covered by so much dust that even though the flame inside is there, the light does not come out. Or to even give another example, which you might be more familiar with, this old lanterns in the villages before electricity came. Okay, so you have got this piece of glass that can be removed every day, and the mother would take that glass out, cleanse it, and then light up the lamp. And if the glass is clean, then the light comes out. But overnight, as the lamp keeps on burning, the black shoot keeps on accumulating. So every day, regularly, the glass has to be cleansed so that the light comes out. Otherwise, if we do not cleanse it, even though the flame might be in there, less and less of light comes because that cleansing doesn't take place. Now, what is the cleansing? What is the best form of cleansing for the mental level? Because the Atman is already there. It's not that we have to bring it in there. It's just that the Atman power and light is covered up. Just like the sun is out there, but the clouds come and block it. Or the flame is inside there, but the shoot on the glass blocks it. Likewise, the impurities of the mind are there in the form of ignorance. So to remove the darkness of ignorance, the light of spiritual knowledge has to be brought in. In the chapter 4, Jnana Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita, verse 37 or 38, Sri Krishna says, Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. Tat swayam yoga samsiddhi kalena atmani vindati. There is no greater purifier here than knowledge. That is a supreme purifier. It removes the ignorance. Even in the worldly sense, when the scientists are trying to get knowledge, overcome the ignorance, they take the help of knowledge, and that knowledge empowers themselves to manipulate and utilize, develop technologies to do things much smartly and better. So when we apply that same thing in the spiritual dimension, then self-knowledge, Adhyatma Vidya, becomes the best purifier. The nature of the Atman, who am I? That the Atman is that infinite, eternal being. It's immortal, it's not material, it is eternal, it is beyond time, space, and causation. It is of the nature of infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. That is the supreme nature of the Atman. When we apply that knowledge, self-knowledge, then the darkness of ignorance is removed. This is again explained very nicely in chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, and I would like you to read that, as well as what is this knowledge in chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, up to 8, 6, 7, 8. You see that Bhagavan Sri Krishna tells these are the disciplines of knowledge that we have to practice. And what happens with the practice of this discipline of cultivation of spiritual knowledge? The darkness of spiritual ignorance automatically disappears. So when we say purity, it does not only mean physical purity, purity of the mind, and of course the Atman cannot be purified. It is Nitya Shuddha. It is ever pure. No amount of dirt can ever contaminate it. Just like a mirror, if it's left in a cellar for many, many years, a layer of dust accumulates on it. And when you look in that mirror, you do not see a very clear reflection of yourself. You see something shady, ghostly. That doesn't mean the mirror has become permanently polluted. It requires some proper cleaning, and then you'll see your divine self inside that. Likewise, nature, Prakriti, which is made of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. As we say, these three bodies that are there, the causal body, the mental body, and the physical body. These three have different degrees of purity. So, as the mind becomes pure, the mental body, that means this constant agitation of the mind through so many hundreds and thousands of thoughts, stimulated by anger and greed and all that, that subsides, and the mind becomes calm and steady and like a sheet of glass, and reflecting very nicely. In that pure mind, we see that we are the Atman, separate from the mind. But when all these thoughts of the world are there, they make the mind go into so many ripples and waves, and in that mind, we have difficulty seeing our true nature. So, that is why this purity of mind is very, very important. Sri Ram Krishna says, Shuddha Man, Shuddha Buddhi, Shuddha Atma Ek. The pure mind and the pure intellect and the pure Atman are one and the same thing. That means the real task in the life of a spiritual seeker is to purify this mind, Chitta Shuddhi, and all the disciplines, whether it's Karma Yoga, by which you do the work in a detached way and offer the results of the work to the divine within, so that you don't have the sense of agency, I am the doer or I am the enjoyer, or the path of Bhakti Yoga, where these emotions that we feel in our heart are directed towards the divine and not to the material world. So emotions directed to the divine becomes devotion, so to say, or the path, the power of the intellect, the power of discrimination, when we are constantly alert and try to understand what is real and what is unreal, Nitya, Anitya. This constant discrimination can disconnect us from this unreal world, because the mind always seeks what is real. It is not interested in anything and it's unreal. It runs after unreal things because it doesn't have this discrimination. When the light of discrimination comes, it will automatically drop any interest in that. Just like you might be dreaming at night, and when you wake up, the moment you realize that experience was only a dream, you lose interest in all things and activities that happen in the dream state. Likewise, if we can develop that alertness that this world itself is like a dream, unreal, today it's there, tomorrow it's gone, then that mind will automatically lose all that engrossment and enchantment into this world. You say, this is today, tomorrow it's gone. So all these are the disciplines by which the mind is purified. Chitta Shuddhi is practiced. As the mind becomes purified, less agitated and disturbed by the external world, then this higher power of the mind, the power of discrimination, the buddhi, that becomes very, very clear and transparent. In that pure mind, where the sattva guna is predominant, we behold our own higher self as the Atman. That is the whole exercise. So there are two tendencies of the mind. One, it can be directed towards the material world, or it could be directed towards the internal world of our Atman nature. When it is directed towards the external world, to enjoy that, to acquire more of that, and to possess that, and be in that, that is called pravritti, going out. And when it has understood that real happiness, joy, purity, whatever is seeking is not in those things, you might get a little taste and glimpse, but one moment it is there, next moment it's gone. And he is seeking for eternal happiness, eternal life, eternal joy, beauty, purity. Then that little enlightened mind now, out of experiences, maybe many lifetimes of experiences, now continues that pursuit of those things because that is his true nature, but not in metta anymore. He turns inwards, and that is called nivritti. One is the centrifugal force, the other one is the centripetal force. And when we say the force that takes us out is called adharma, the force that takes us inwards is called dharma, righteousness. So when in life, when you are faced in a situation where you are questioning yourself, is this righteous, moral, ethical for me? Then what is the yardstick by which you will decide which way you should go? So here's the test. Anything that takes you towards your higher self, the one which is the source of all your being, that is moral and ethical. Anything that takes you away from that source and gets you more entangled into the multiplicity, that is adharma, immoral, unethical. So very simple criteria you can apply, because if you don't have this sense of judgment, then sometimes you are going out, sometimes you are going in, or you are trying to going in, but you are walking backwards in the other direction, because this sense of proper understanding is not there of what I should do, what is spiritually, morally right for me, and what is unhealthy or harmful to me. So the scriptures give us that clarity and understanding as to what are the criteria by which we can regulate our thoughts, words, and deeds, because every action has an effect, and if we are not mindful of it, we can do more harm to ourselves spiritually, while we might get something very little in a material sense. That's why even if we got the whole universe and the emperorship of this whole world, but lost our soul into that, as Lord Jesus Christ in the Bible says, what does it befit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? Because that world will go in his flesh. When death comes, everything is taken away. So we have to get something, that thing, or discover. Discover means remove the covering, remove the dirt from the glass so that we can behold our true self. And spiritual life is that constant effort, dedicated, determined, with great perseverance and patience to realize, to experience our Atman nature as separate from this body and this mind and the three layers of our being. And that is why during meditation, we try to go beyond the physical body, beyond the mental body, beyond the knowledge body, and contemplate on the Atman, which is our true nature. And as the mind meditates on that particular object of meditation, the beauty and the purity and the power of the Atman begins to reflect on the mind, and we grow spiritually. So, next week we will continue our discussion. Today we discuss Saucha. Next time we'll take up Santosha, Tapa. And otherwise, we'll also be meeting tomorrow in our regular Sunday class on mind management techniques at 11 o'clock, Brisbane time. Until then, keep safe and keep well. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.